Their derivative math is like the emperor's new clothes, imagined, told that there's new clothes by rulers and other leaders to the king, and that only the stupid could not see them. Yeah, there were no clothes, and his advisors knew it. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. That's right, the Mud Flood was Armageddon. It's a flat earth nation, and the golden age is past because the Mud Flood was Armageddon, and I'm never going to tell you anything else. Neither are my friends, and we are looking for a fair and honest debate. Good morning, Luther the Truther. This is going to be something that you saw the thumbnail, I hope, the 6 thumbs. There's going to be some math in this, but it is not about math. I'm going to just jump in and show the pictures. Let's see, spoiler alert for what I'm going to be talking about here. What do we got? Relatively few base 12 systems found in the world languages, all right? Well, it's claimed to be the best math, but there's remnants of it. The 12-hour day, the 24-hour clock, things like that. Base math. So what do we got here? The base 10, which is presumably motivated by counting with the 10 fingers. Well, I really believe that the giants, the polydactyls, had. We know they had 6. I was looking at, I saw that this movie just came out for free, so I clicked on it to see if I could find anything to screenshot. And Avengers movie had from this drawing of a butterfly, the Hulk's alter ego, Bruce Banner, said, "Oh no, these guys are evolving." Yeah, he figured out something. There's the thumbnail that when I saw that, I'm there like, oh my goodness, now I get it. Because I was studying polydactyl. I think that's it. Nope. We're going to go back into the 0, I guess. What is the same principle applies to place value notations that use other than 10, such as binary and hexadecimal. The modern use of the 0 in this manner derives from the Indian mathematics that was transmitted to Europe via medieval. And we know that whole medieval Islamic joke is a hoax. There was no Mohammed. Come on, it's all a joke. And there was no medieval 1,000 years. This is what happened. And so they're saying, they got it all figured out over here, honkies. But it was also used independently by the Maya. They figured it out, and they had other things, and they had a 0. But we're going to pretend that other civilizations didn't know what a 0 was. We'll maybe touch on it. Okay, so that's that lunacy from the other day. Looking at where we're going to be going. Hola, Sergio. Hola, Vicnoid. Victoria and Zach in the house. Check this out. We're going to be looking at the tabs now. First off, I have to explain to you something. I was sitting here and I dropped into one of those like stop and stare moments, right? And I'm thinking about clearing these tabs, and I have a very important meeting I have to go to at 10 o'clock. So I have a bunch of things to get done. And the meeting's important. It's about my college future and things like that. And it's with a very beautiful woman who's like a gold earring in a pig's ear or a gold ring in a bull's nose, she's totally into the, you know, her, and she questioned my ethics because I asked her to do something like recommend my book to a professor. It's like, and her ethics are the ones that 10 years ago, he would have been told to tell somebody, like, oh, you're a girl and you're a boy. But now her ethics are, you're a girl if you want to be, so I mean, so it's like, I got to dealing with that and everything else. And my screen goes black. And so I just reach over and I tap my mouse to bring it back up, bringing my concentration back to, okay, I got to present today early and move on. It comes up on these things called clips. Have you ever seen that? So I clicked on one of the clips. Is that it? I think this is it. Well, let's just find it. There was something down here and somehow it said your clips. And so I accidentally hit it. And I didn't even know I had clips. I sure didn't. And then there was one, I know Tom Gilbertson, Randy and I have played for his, and Blessing and everything else. And here's one from, I'm clipped by Fun Park from Michelle Glipson. And I got a problem with her. She tricked herself onto my show and she didn't even have any subscribers, pretended to be a Christian. And then, well, of course, now she's not. She's a channeler. And so it's like 1 minute clip. So I clicked it.
This is what happens. In 10 minutes, the phosphoric acid attacks the enamel in your teeth and tricks your body into thinking it has just processed sugar. Cola does to you within an hour of drinking a Coke.
Wait, those are my words, but that's not my voice. And as far as I know, I taught this 2 years ago. And just look at Michelle Gibson. She doesn't look like she's into treating her body like a temple. So I'm confused about it. I don't care. I got to move on and get these things here. So I wanted to look up Sexamol. Is that what this is? Yeah. I don't know why I had it down here. So here, there historical uses of the Sexamol system is Chinese calendar. It's another, they claim that not a lot of people use the base 12, but they do in China. It's a sequence of 10 stems in another sequence of 12 branches. So somehow it's not like it's not used at all. Sexamol is base 60. It's a numeral system with 60 as its base. And we've talked about, not going to get into it because I got a lot of tabs to go over, clear over, and a lot was going on yesterday. Oh yeah, that video never mind. We'll get to it. So anyway, it's 60 seconds in a minute, right? You ever heard of that one? We still use this. I'll leave that up in case we have to come back. So the decimals, that's not only like 0.004. It's a whole numeral system. I guess I kept that up to show you that. But as we get into it, this is positional. I know I have notation pulled up other. So that is the way we use it. It can be a fraction. And it goes back to, they're calling it Arabic. They got a 1-for-1 coordination with the numbers there. It's not Roman numerals, but it's funny how we kind of, if you kind of know almost anything, you kind of know a little bit about all of these things. No one is an expert in them all, but I guess not unusual that the base 60, it was from Babylonia, and it's not unusual because we're honkies and related to them that we would use it. That's the takeaway on that. So today, the base 10 system, which is presumably motivated by counting with the 10 fingers, is ubiquitous. I think I was combining words. Other bases have been used in the past, and many continue to be used today until you see Satan successfully co-opt he's making nations, and then the nation's going to be a one world base everything. However, it lacked a real zero. How is that possible? How is that possible that we're trying to take credit for a zero? Because, well, their definition is that initially referred only from context. Later, about 700 BC, zero came to be indicated by it says in quote space or a punctuation symbol. No one back then had any trouble knowing how to do math and make calendars that amaze the people today with their accuracy, because they go like, hey, they're as good as us. So can we agree zero is questionable the way they use it, saying it's the first number? The first number is not one. To them, the first number is zero. And we're smarter than the Babylonians and the Indians and the Chinese. So come on, who do they think they are? That sufficiently mocked them enough. What did I look up next? Oh, base 27. That's because base 27's weird, man. It's only used where? Paco, you're supposed to know that. Base 27 indicates the power of 27, that it represents similar to how decimal places in base 10 represent the power of 1. It's only used in New Guinea. They like it. They love it. They can't get enough of it. What even is a derivative in a matrix? This guy. No.
This K back then was a scalar, like a number like 1 or 2. And we found that its derivative was just that number itself. In the
derivative of a matrix in math. Well, you know what the matrix is to me. It's the dust we're made from. I guess I could prove it. Hexadecimal. In mathematics and computing, hexadecimal is also base 16. I guess it could be base 32 or base 8, which all the bases can work. Unlike the decimal, where you have 10 fingers and 10 toes, representing numbers using 10 symbols, hexadecimal uses 16 distinct symbols. Most often the symbols 0 through 9 representing values. Now, only in your new quantum physics math of this world could 0 be considered to have a value. And they think they can prove it. Software developers love this shit. Excuse me, I am so sorry. Maybe I'm not as sorry as I am kind of sorry. I'm just closing these out. Base 2. You can find pi with base 2. There are some that are easier, some that are harder. Base 12, they say, is the most useful of them all. How would I know? I just know binary Huh. So the base 2, which could be base 4, base 8, base 16, base 64, it looks like what? Say what? Huh. And I know. I'm throwing a lot at you right now. I'm only asking for a few patience. I'm trying to tie this together, and I only did it in my mind. So I don't even know what. List of numeral systems. So here we go. They're all going to be pretty much the same, 10 and 60. So we started out with the best ones back in the day. So the ones that still rocking it, because base 60 might as well be base 12, right? 2, 8. It's the same, man. Wow. A lot of people tried a lot of different things and they all worked when you use it right. Okay. A lot of more base 10 than base 20. And they don't even mention the other bases. But your cups, your ounces, your teaspoons, they all kind of go back to the same thing. What was that? Did you see that picture? That looked. Shoot. Let's go. So the duodecimal, also known as base 12. The number 12 is denoted 10, meaning 112 and 0 units. This number is written as 12, meaning 110 and 2 units. Right. Okay. Thanks for that. The number 12, a superior, highly composite number. It certainly is. I wonder why God made 12 tribes. I wonder why. I got, or apostles, even though one of them was a devil. Have I not chosen you? And one of you is the devil. Base 20. Now, this is another really good one. In this was their symbol for 0. So how do they keep claiming that, we invented 0? We invented the wheel, and that's right when we stopped clubbing women over the head and dragging them back to the cave. We got a 0. Shut up. Anyway, that's the takeaway on that, is that base 20 is good. It's called the decimal, derived from the Latin. Derived. We're going to be looking into derivatives. I think I mentioned that. Okay, octal. Another one, base 8. 8 as a base. There's nothing you can't do with it. If you were raised with base 8, and things coming out to 112, and you wouldn't have had any trouble in school. You would have been doing good. They used it in California, Mexico, China, Proto-Europeans. No problem. It's base 10 with its 0. Your first number is a 0, and that's its value. And we can prove it with string theory and quantum physics. And you should never, ever listen to anybody that said, I'm a prophet. I know, even my friends don't like it when I say that. I was doing that with Sergio yesterday. Hey, have you ever heard of this? I watched a video about nickel titanium, a metal alloy, nitinol, as a metal alloy of nickel. This was going to save the world, shape memory. They were going to be able to, just change the temperature, and it was going to run an engine. Now, to show you that, I think let's do it this way. I'm going to copy this word. That's how you do that. You copy that. You come up here. You say open new tab. It'll open down here. Click on it. Type it. Pop it. Drop it. And you want to look for nitinol engine. All right. Now, you can see that at one time, this was going to be a big deal.
It was here at the Navy's Ordnance Laboratories, just outside the laboratories, have been investigating this, a curious metal called nitinol. It has certain anomalous properties not yet fully understood or explained. It's caused considerable interest, it has generated some controversy, and it now seems that in a world searching for new sources of energy, it may have profound consequences.
Oh boy. And you see, this isn't propaganda that, you know, they were really showing, you know, the world like, look, we're so far ahead and we're going to have free energy. Spoiler alert. This didn't pan out.
Cool state, it's relaxed and floppy. In the heated state, it remembers its former state. That's why you say it has a memory. So if you make the thing, if you make this piece of wire so it's straight when you made it, then when it's hot, it wants to straighten out. When it's cold, it's just as floppy as a wet noodle. You know, if you take one of these things and put in hot, cold water and feel it in your hand, it's like a wet noodle when it's cold. When it's hot, it straightens out very suddenly. It's quite strong stuff.
In fact, nitinol, a nickel-titanium alloy, can spring back with a force of 55 tons a square inch.
Oh, wow. 55 tons a square inch. And they, you know, they're just showing the people that, you know, what they get free energy's right around the
November
corner.
1973 at the Lawrence Laboratories, Berkeley, marking the first time that heat had been converted directly into mechanical energy. Ridgway Banks rigged up a solar heater on the laboratory roof to keep the water warm enough to drive the engine and let it run to see if there would be any sign of fatigue in the nitinol wires. After 23 million revolutions, he found that the wheel was running stronger. No one is quite sure why this is happening.
Wow. So they were going to save the world. And then that whole video goes on telling them about, you know, trust me, trust us. Look at the United States. We got this new thing, nitinol engine. It snaps back 55 tons of power per square inch. Transformation. Well, it works. Well, let's look at the history of it here. So Naval Ordnance Laboratory. This was going to be a military thing, and they were trying to get the nose cone of a missile really strong, and they stumbled upon this. Somebody had discovered it way back in 1932, but potentially its applications were realized immediately of what they could have done. The problem was the commercialization of it did not take place, it says, until the 1980s, largely due to the extraordinary difficulty of melting, processing, and machining the alloy. So they sure sold the crap out of it, didn't they? Of something that was super expensive and wasn't going to work. But they were putting it out there as, don't worry, America is right around the corner from an unlimited supply. As you roll down here into the history, you know, there's your applications. It can be crooked and go right back to it if you go from cold water to hot water. So basically, it just didn't work, and they moved on. Other applications, well, there was a demonstration of a heat engine built with nitinol wire in the 70s, but, you know, it's called the Banks engine. There you go. Didn't happen. But when it was introduced, oh, it was the game changer. Now, what did I look up here? Okay, this was kind of a one-off, I think. Skeletal muscle features. I saw somebody asking questions like, what are all those protrusions on the stone walls and stuff? And I was just thinking, how many times have I shown them, different muscle things, and that just every now and then there's a myelin sheath, and then over a bump of what are those? Are those neutrons? They have little bumps on the muscles, and it looks like the rest of the rock, for crying out loud. We're talking about zero here. We're not in numbers and stuff. But anyway, zero, they say, is a number. How? What is a number? I mean, it represents something. I have one orange. I have one cup of coffee. I have one fork sitting on the table. Are you representing a number? If you say, how many forks do you have on the table? Zero. Oh, okay. So you have an empty quantity. That's helpful to them somehow. Adding zero to any number. Okay, that's different. That's different. You're not adding a empty quantity when you move from 9 forks on a table to 10 forks on a table. I didn't want to say oranges because I know people could be like, he said orange because it's the number 33. No, I didn't. I said orange because in the morning sometimes I have orange juice and stuff. So anyway, we got that. You got that? Zero. Nobody ever figured it out until we did, after Satan was loosed. Well, Fibonacci kind of did, maybe. But they didn't call it. He called, Zethiro was already in existence, meaning west wind. Depending on the context, there may be different words used for the number zero or the concept of zero. For the simple notion of lacking, the words nothing and none are often used. Yeah, there's nothing on the table. The British English words not and nil are also synonymous. Many people say O instead of zero. Beverly Hills 90210 90120. Okay, so I'm just not believing that nobody else until modern people understood the difference between nothing and something. But they gotta, they can be amazed at sometimes about like, why could they do this? And then they still didn't really understand zero, but they had a sophisticated base 60 enough to where they could track the moon and the stars more accurately than we could until we got these supercomputers. Well, hence the problem when people want to start calculating what they call the date of Easter. It's a movable feast. It's determined each year through a calculation. Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday after the Paschal full moon, a mathematical approximation of the first astronomical full moon. It wouldn't be an approximation if they would just go ahead and admit the earth is flat. And again, with the problems of the Julian and Gregorian calendars being used interchangeably in our history, it's just a lot of trouble. So throwing out different things here, what's this? Words we put together that mean stuff. Words put together mean stuff. I just had to stop there and take a picture. What is this? Something RJ sent me.
Book of Revelation. It's not strictly chronological. And then there are thematic aspects as well. But here's the question: who has all authority in heaven and on earth now? Christ, Satan, or men? Let's just put the men part aside and say Christ or Satan, as if it's either or and not both and. The Bible teaches both.
Wow, that's cool, huh? We talking about that. So I searched selling derivatives. Derivatives can be bought or sold over the counter. Huh. Wow. Kat says, let's talk about derivatives. These financial instruments. So it could be like a zero, not really a thing, but more of a instruments derive their value from an underlying asset. That's vague. Derivatives are one of three main categories of financial instruments, the other two being equity and debt. Derivative is a contract in finance. So it's a contract that derives its value. So it is nothing, but it derives its value from the performance of an underlying entity. This underlying entity could be an asset index or even an interest rate. Now, the derivatives in math are the same, made up thing. Now, most derivatives now are traded over the counter. Exchanges like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. The financial crisis that we're still reeling from, after that, there has been an increase in pressure to move derivatives to trade on exchanges. Trade, not be bought and sold, So it's something weird going on here. And it's turned into one of the main things. Now, the basics are they're selling contracts between two parties that specify conditions about underlying variables that only they can. Who controls them? Well, not you, not me. I guess it's the hidden hand of the market. The market drives all things, You can put a lock, stop, hedge funds. We've heard all of these things before. This is the tight junction proteins. This is going back to body parts. Okay. This is, I hope I went over this because that's some really good stuff. All right. So based on, I guess, what you believe, I'm going to just keep, I've said what I got to say. Now I'm closing out these tabs so I can start over. So a caste system, people that believe in all those different bases and everything else, sometimes they call it a caste system, but it's really just a social group of where you were born and what you're going to be taught through social stratification. They call it a caste system. The term caste is also applied to morphological and eusocial insects like ants, bees, and termites. Hindu societies really put it into social groups and everything else. And we kind of go like, oh, they have different colored dots on their head and they have a caste system. We didn't let black people drink out of the same water fountains as white people until the 1960s. You want to back off on your little they're weird. The United States had the one drop rule. We were apartheid country. We had caste systems. We all learned it wrong. We were taught it wrong because Satan's been loosed. And that's why you're stuck with these income tax. They tax your wages, salaries, interest, dividends, rental incomes, and you consider it's worth dying for to elect Donald Trump because he's going to keep you free? He's not part of the system. He's fighting the system. We're all hooked up on it. And in the meantime, somebody that even their friends don't like it when he says, like, the Lord called me and I think I'm a prophet. I'm a prophet, and I'm going to bring a new message that the golden age is past and the mud flood is Armageddon. And I'm probably going to blame a certain group of people, Roman Catholics. Looking back to the, when Satan is loosed in the 1711, they're right there waiting, right? With the Freemasons, acts of uniformity, test acts, penal laws. You don't believe they can turn wine into blood? Well, then they have the right to kill you. It sounds like baloney to me. But then again, when these guys saw this, it was over. All you got to do is elect a new leader and you're going to make America great again. The Bible's wrong. We're not going to be encompassed about by Satan trying to make nations of the world.
A new means of energy conversion that might have considerable long-term implications. With the sudden advent in the mid-1970s of the worldwide energy crisis.
Right. So they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And in the meantime, I could go here, go to something I didn't even know existed, go to where somebody played a clip of
does to you within
whatever
an hour
this is a
drinking
clip
Coke.
of.
Within 10 minutes, 10
And
teaspoons
he's
of sugar
really
enters
excited
your
about how
system,
smart she was
100%
a
of the
year
daily
ago.
recommended value. You don't
But
vomit.
when I stop and go like, what is this thing? Because this is my
due to the
video.
excessive amount of sugar because of
And
phosphoric
I'm talking
acid.
about sending his angel to his servant John. Now, that's a pretty straightforward sentence to show to his servants who were alive, and the ones that were one called, two faithful, or one called, two chosen, and three faithful are those people spoken of. Now, the reason that I bring that up is because yesterday I was watching, and the show Sergio put on, and he showed a clip from someone, and it was very good, and I liked it, and I subscribed to him, but I also, read some of his other material and things like that, and he also believes that part of Revelation 20 fulfilled Revelation 21 and 22 were fulfilled during the golden age of Christ. And as far as I know, everyone here knows I don't believe with it. I don't think that that's happened yet. But, I'll be putting this out. RJ will look at it, we'll talk, and we'll see of what's going to be going forward. But right now, the floods continue. The election joke continues. Your patriotism will be roused by the Olympics and the election. The Biden, is he going to drop out? Who's going to replace him? Is it going to be Michelle Obama? Or is that a little bit further down the road? Anyway, a lot to think about. And where are we? Well, we're right here on a flat earth nation with the golden age past, because mud flood was Armageddon. That's why me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame.